Hey guys, it's Sam from A Perry Life, and in this video, I figured I would give my 2 cents on the Black Scottish situation that is taking over the internet. I am going to give a little bit of history of the Black Scots, talk about some of their famous people, and then I'm going to touch on why Black Americans just didn't think about Black Scots. I really do not think that it was something that Black Americans even considered, or it was like even at the front of their mind. One of the main reasons, and I'll let you know right now before you get even further into the video, is that a lot of Black people are not even thinking about the white Scots. So now that we got that out of the way, we are going to talk about some of the basic stuff. If you like this type of video, like it, subscribe, whatever. Let's get into this. So the first thing we're going to talk about is some basic statistics. This is from the census data of 2022. The Scots only represented 1.2% of the country's total population in 2022. That was less than 70,000 people, only 65,414 individuals identified as a Black Scottish person in 2022. And the population has grown in the last 3 decades. It was 6,300 in 1991, and in 2022 it was 65,000. Now, I went on a deep dive because I was not sure why we hadn't seen Black Scottish people, right? Like, why are Black people not seeing Black Scottish people? Why are Black Americans not seeing Black Scottish people? And then I thought of who are the Black Americans that Black Scottish people probably know. And 9 times out of 10, it's famous people. It's our athletes. It's our musicians. It's our actors. It's our like philanthropists, all of that, TV, all that jazz. So I was like, who are the famous Black Scots? And it is a very small list. And I don't say that in a way to be derogatory towards the Black Scottish people. I'm saying it in a way of, if the representation is not there and it's not in front of us, how do we even think of the fact that these people exist? Yes, we know Black Scottish people exist. It's just something that you're like, oh snap, y'all are out here. Just like the Black Greeks, the Black Croatians, the Black Portuguese, just like the Black Italians, the Afro-Italians, hey y'all, just like all of that, they exist. But if you do not have a big group that's representing you, then it's something that you just do not think of. People just do not think of. On top of that, if you see this list of people here, if you look at this, majority of these people are from a African lineage. You can tell that by last names. You can tell that by first names. You can tell it. I don't know if they're all first generation or just second generation, or if they could be third generation. I don't know exactly how deep the Scottish Black connection goes. I did see that there was a notable figure, which was a person who was the servant for one of the Tudor ladies or whatnot. But either way, most of these people, if you look at what they have accomplished, it is definitely notable. There's no disrespect to it, but it is a small scale on the comparison to their British counterparts. So this isn't even about us Black Americans not thinking of Black Scottish people. It's who is the forefront of the Black people representing for the UK. It's typically the Black people from England. And for those of you who do not know, there are 4 people. This is 3, sorry. 4 people. Wait, no, this is 3. No, this is weird. 4 people 4 countries that are in the United Kingdom, in that group. You've got Northern Ireland, you've got Wales, you've got Scotland, and you have England. Black Americans are not thinking to differentiate all of these different people. Now, if we were there and we were with them all the time, I get it. I 100% get it. If there is a person and they are from Mississippi and they and you mistake them from a person who's from Tennessee, they would be like, what the hell? What the hell? But if you are just going to say the person's from the South, it's something that if you are not a person who is in the bayou, a person who is involved in Southern USA culture and all the things surrounding it, you're not going to think of, oh, my drink is backwards. There we go. You're not going to think of the fact of where is this person from. Not only that, when you look at a Black person who is from the UK, a Black Brit or whatnot, most of the time they're not even really repping their United Kingdom country. They're typically repping their African country. So you hear the accent, and most of the time you think they are from England. That is just something that I feel is like an innocent misconception. And also, not only this innocent misconception of thinking the person is from England, a lot of people cannot tell the difference between the accents. If you can, good for you. Good for you. As a flight attendant, I've been flying since 2008. I have a lot of friends from all over the world. You do have the people who cannot tell the small little differences between the accents. Even if you think of the Australian accent and the Kiwi accent, a lot of people do not know the difference. And it is an innocent, an innocent confusion. It really is. Unless you've sat there and you've listened and you've learned what you should be like, what is the main thing that you're going to be looking out for, that you're going to listen for, most people won't even know. Then I wanted to quickly talk about some real, like, serious history of Black people and travel and the realities of segregation and Black people not receiving, Black Americans not receiving reparations. One, travel was really expensive and Black people were not being paid fairly, and we were not we were not being hired in jobs that were in positions that we could fill. We were not getting the promotions. We were not getting just like basic, like moving up the ranks the way that our white counterparts were doing, not to mention nepotism and people giving other people jobs just because of the color of their skin, right? So you had a lot of Black people who were not receiving a lot of money, Black Americans that were not making a lot of money. And so what did they do on their vacations? They all saved to go to the South for family reunions. This is something that was really, 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 really common. And it wasn't until 1964 that segregation ended for, I think it was, let me exactly see. I want to make sure I get this correct. That segregation ended. This was the Civil Rights Act, and this banned discrimination in public accommodations and employment. So if you think of just like the banning, the ending of the banning, that does not mean that there was not systematic things that were in place that kept Black people from being able to do a lot of the same things that our white counterparts did here in the US. So you have airfare being very expensive, which means that a lot of us who did not receive our proper raises and our proper funds for the way that our ancestors had been treated, we were not able to partake in enjoying travel the same way. Not only that, if you think of segregation, even though if you think of in 1954 when the segregation in public schools took place, these Black kids had to go to school with white teachers and white students who were terrorizing them. So you had a lot of people who did not interact in spaces that they did not feel necessarily safe. And I mean, even for my parents, my father, and we're thinking about this now, as a person, as who he was as a person. He passed away last year, and the circles that he felt comfortable in, there are a lot of Black people that are alive now that still do not feel comfortable in predominantly white spaces. My dad went to Dallas last year to visit my sister, and he didn't like the hotel. It was a Westin, and he wanted to go to the La Quinta, which we swapped him over the following day, because it was uncomfortable for him to even be in spaces that were predominantly white, and that were, him being a Southern man, he was uncomfortable with being in, rubbing shoulders with people who he typically saw in a managerial position. So when you think of segregation with schooling and our kids being terrorized in school, and then you think of the banning of discrimination in public accommodations and employment, and, all of the celebrities who would very much so easily, entertain, their white counterparts, but wouldn't be allowed to be in the hotels and all of this other stuff, even though they were celebrities or whatnot, and they see the way that they treated us. And then you see the Green Book, which is very much so, it was where Black people felt comfortable going. I remember being a kid and we got in a van that we rented, and we all went up to Mississippi from Florida, and we picked up family members along the way. And now when you are as an adult, and I'm thinking about it, we were doing basically the Green Book, where you went during the day, you didn't travel at night, you brought snacks, you didn't stop. So travel with Black Americans is something that we are becoming more familiar with. And not only that, if you think of when a lot of our African peers, when they do go abroad, not all the time, but a lot of people are leaving for a better life. The basics of like the basic accommodations are available in the States. So you don't see a lot of Black Americans that are leaving the States because we're not escaping war. We're not escaping, like famine. We're not escaping, bad home conditions. And when I say bad, I'm talking about when you look at some countries where people are living in huts, where they don't have running water, where they don't have proper plumbing. We're not doing that. we do have our standards of where we want to go and what we would like to change in our life, but we are not accepting, like, I want to say bare minimum, but certain things that other people in other countries might see as a come up, right? So anyway, so I have this thing on the back here. And this is talking about the dawn of social media and online platforms. And I won't go into the whole entire thing. You guys are more than welcome to just look it up. It's an AI overview thanks to Google. And basically, in the 2000s and the 2010s, we then started to create green books where our Black peers, the Black community in the States, could see that this place had been stamped as a place of approval by another Black person. So I'm going to visit that place. Previously, it was basically kind of like taboo. Yes, Black people traveled to different places, but you didn't see people doing it in a mass. Like how you see it now. People are traveling now back and forth like crazy. You don't see it now. There is a different comfort that came in the Black community, the Black American community, as we started to get the reviews from people of how is it in that country. And one thing that, being a Black American, that I am always worried about when I travel to another country is it safe? It's not about the comforts or whatever. Is it safe? And I feel like there's a lot of people who are giving their reviews and their experience, sharing their experiences in different countries, and they're talking about that, and you're able to make an educated decision on if you want to travel to that country or not. Previously, that was our green book. All we did was traveled in the States. Not only that, I looked up just, a person who traveled to every single country, right? First Black person to travel to every single country. And her name is Jessica. Let me make sure, because I have the two on here now. I have Black and white. But the first Black person to visit every country, and that this is what's documented. Her name is Jessica Nobongo, and she is widely recognized as the first Black woman to visit every country in the world. Now, I'm not sure if she's just a Black person, but that is what it is listed as. Now, this is in 2019, I believe, is when she actually made this accomplishment. Traveling in she finished in 2028, right? This is 2028 where she was able to get that stamp of approval that she's been everywhere in the world, every country. The first white person to have completed the journey that is documented, right? And they kind of make it like, oh, it could be somebody else, but this is who we know of. He completed his journey at the age of 40 in 1988. 1988. So he has a cool, 30 years on her when he was able to do this. And just think of how expensive it is to travel, the time that it takes for you to be off. He completed that in 1988. Things are not as easy now as it was then. And I'm not saying that it was easy necessarily for Jessica. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that for him to have been able to allocate the time in 1988 when air travel was really expensive and all of this different stuff, and it wasn't as easy to get around and there weren't as many airlines, that just kind of is a testament of how much more accessible the world has been to white people than to Black people. And I don't want to make this like a white or a Black thing, but I will say that when I'm looking at it on the internet, I'm seeing a lot of Black Americans who are just like amused and like, oh my gosh, because there are 3 things that Black Americans think about Scotland, right? They think about the Scotch, they think about the kilt, and they think about the bagpipe. Anything else, you probably could not get any more information from a Black American about Scotland. Once again, if you were asking about the British, you were asking about people who are in England, it will be completely different. The English, I don't know, British, English, I don't know how to interchange, but it will be completely different. But when we are talking about Scottish specifically, just like the same thing with the Welsh, you wouldn't find a lot of Black people, Black Americans who can tell you anything about the Welsh. And it's not that it's a personal thing. It's just out of sight, out of mind, and everything gets blown up and taken out of context when Black Americans are kind of just, and I get it, we're the culture, we are very, and I hope that this brings a type of light to the Black Scottish community, and hopefully there are more Black Scottish people who are casted in film and that are into sports and that are getting like a certain level of shine. It seems like people who are Black in these predominantly white countries only get shine during the Olympics. So I hope that they are able to actually represent the country in a way in that they weren't previously able to do so. But I just feel like there's like this type of like roasting that happens to Black Americans when we are excited about this stuff. Black Americans aren't saying anything crazy about the Black Scots, but there is a community of people online that are looking at it like, oh, Black Americans, they're so ignorant, they're so this, they're so that, they're so this. We know that people exist that are, we understand nationality, excuse me, race, ethnicity. We understand those things. We get it. But I don't think anyone here will sit here and say that they thought that the guy, like, not that it even crossed their mind that the black kid from sex education, the black guy from sex education, that he was specifically Scottish. You just, oh yeah, he's a black person that has a British accent. Did you pinpoint where on the map it? No. So like that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to give my 2 cents on it because I feel like there's like this crazy roasting that happens. And you know, we just did the Tyler video, and I know that there is some, you know, there's diaspora wars happening all over right now, and I feel like the Black American community is handling it pretty well. But it doesn't mean that there is not. That there isn't this consistent craziness that's happening that we still have to be prepared for, and that the goalpost is moved differently when it comes to us. And it just is. So anyway, guys, comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. This might be far-fetched. And I know I went on a whole history lesson. Excuse me, guys. I'm tired. I still have this much coffee left. I'm tired. I went on a whole history lesson, but I would like for people to know that the history of Black people and thinking of other Black people, I'm sorry, we've been thinking of other Black people for a long time, which is why we delineating.